Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Sanders, and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today, I want to talk about what may be a possible trend. In fact, it's sort of been a trend, and I've been watching it. And this has to do with the luxury goods companies that have been making major inroads into sort of what had traditionally been the purview of companies like Patek Philippe, like Audemars Piguet, Rolex, Vacheron Constantin, Jaeger LeCoultre, and some of the really quality. These companies, when people say, "I want a luxury watch," they think of, "I want a Vacheron Constantin," or "I want a Patek Philippe," something like that. Okay, now what the change has been is that some of the companies that are luxury goods companies saying, let's dip our toes in the thing too. Now, some have been dipping for some time and some deeper than others. So let's take a look at these. And what good this can do us is that when something changes, there's always a gap. And the gap is where the collectors want to move in, because this is where you have something that was one thing and then it changed. And before they got the replacement in, the companies had to get rid of the old ones so that they could sell the new ones. And so you could get some really good deals. I got some great deals. My Urban Jurgensen is one example that I got for almost half price. And watch I always wanted to have, but I could never afford. And I think that if we look at these, we can find some things that they're affordable because nobody else has really discovered them yet. And some of these you may have, others may be brand new. So let's take a look. Now, the first company is Fabergé. And I sort of rediscovered Fabergé when I got this Alexi. I didn't, think too much about it. I'll talk about it more in a second. Now, first of all, I want to talk about the whole concept of in-house versus not in-house. And I think it's very important for us to change it from in-house to quality. I mean, some of the in-house movements aren't anywhere near as good as that they could, some watch company could go to Vaucher and get something off the shelf that's much better. So the quality isn't because it's in-house or not in-house. The quality is quality. It doesn't matter where they make it. So let's take a look at these two watches. One or both of them won Grand Prix prizes at one time or another. First of all is the Fabergé Visionnaire DTZ, dual time zone. It's got a caliber AGH, and it's automatic, 3 hertz, 50 hours, 43 millimeters white gold. This is 32,450. This watch does very well for Fabergé. The other one also has an Agenor movement in it, an AGH 6361, $45,000. Now, the 6361 is called the Agengraph, and the Agengraph belongs to Agenor, but a lot of companies really want it because it's such a good movement. Now, so not only does Fabergé, but so does H. Moser, so does Singer, so do a lot of other companies. It's really a top-notch watch. It's expensive, granted. Now, going down back to earth, the one that's called the Altruist, the Fabergé Altruist, is sort of your more everyday watch. And the two, by the way, too, I got these, the prices they have are the ones that I got from their website. Now, this one, you say, well, it sort of looks the same, but it's not. It's not exactly the same. One of the it's got this sort of carbuncle kind of crown on it. The other ones have these little. They're what happens is that they open and close, I believe, because they have a little T and then you can wind them up. The two that I showed, one is a 41 millimeter white gold. In fact, they're both 41 millimeter and they're both gold. This one's $21,000. Now, 21,000 um, what can you get for that that's equivalent? And the answer is not a whole lot. And that's what the good news is. If you're a collector, I don't know what kind of collector you are. 17,000 say, well, I want to get one of the brand names for that, and that's fine too. But here you can really find some deals. Now this one is called the Alexei, and it turns out other than the crown, they're identical, and I picked this one up brand new for just a little over 4,000. And originally it had been 18,000, and then I have no idea why, but then they couldn't sell them, and so the places that had them really had some rock bottom prices. It's in white gold. Now the difference between this one and those, this one has a Frederick Piguet movement, great movement, automatic, and on the inside where you can't see it, they have the Russian Imperial Eagle. Here they have a visible. You can see through the back. It has an exhibition back to it. And now these two have a hand. I don't know if it's a brigade hand. It's more of an oval than the round pomes on that. How you look at it. Now the caliber on both of these is set up as VMH 3000. They're both what are called the HMSC. If you go to the brochure page and look at their movements, you'll find a VMF 3000. Then they have all different kinds of special things on them. I lowballed this and didn't think I was going to get it. Next thing I knew, I had it. What was I doing? Turned out to be a wonderful watch. You never know what you're going to get. Okay, so let's go on and see what else we got. Now, a company that's making big moves, and it's a really interesting one, is Chanel. Now, a few years ago, Chanel bought 20% stake in FP Journe, and I don't know anybody who collects watches don't know this. On the other hand, they bought in 2011, even earlier, they had bought a minority stake. They referred to it as a friendly share of Romain Gauthier. And the Romain Gauthier, the big thing about that is that they can get all of their parts from it. And so that's a big thing, because Romain Gauthier, not only is he a top-ranked watchmaker, but he's one of the very, very few that makes all of his own parts. And that becomes fairly important. Also, at some time, they bought Bell and Ross. I'm not sure why or what they had in mind for it, but it doesn't seem that they've done a whole lot with it. This is another funny thing, Chanel bought Holland & Holland. Holland & Holland makes shotguns, and they make this super nice shotgun metal. Sort of another thing is that FP Journe has a collection of gunmetal watches. So, go figure. Okay, now, one of the most unusual things was Chanel had a deal through the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation through Tudor to a company that is 20% owned now by Chanel. It's called Kinesi. And if we take a look at the watches that they have, we can begin to see that the newer ones are made by Kinesi. And even though I doubt it, that the parts are by Romain Gauthier, they have a certain kind of character that looks like they were. This is a watch that is very, very popular uh, among both men and women. The women's one, they can be black or white. They assume that the women would rather have white. Um, and if you look at that movement, it's called the caliber 12.1. You have you can look at how that round loopy goes around the rotor. That, for me, reminds me somewhat of what the back of it. If you look at the back of a Romain Gauthier, you see all of these things held together that way. Now, it's derived. This is something that, to me, I thought was interesting. It's derived from Tudor's MT 5400. By the way, too, you'll see a lot of places where it says Tudor's MT 5600. Apparently, that's incorrect. There was somebody who knew a little more about that came and corrected everybody, including myself. I thought it was a 5600 too, but it's not, the 5400. COSC certified, runs at 4 hertz, 70-hour power reserve. The 12.1 has a free sprung balance secured by what they refer to as the distinctive balance curve bridge. So here you have, again, it's sort of like this big octopus. Now the thing is that there's another big octopus called his company. It's sort of like a blanket company. Okay, so this one is around 7,500, brand new. It's made of ceramic. Very good looking watch. Now here's the thing. There's two ways that you can look at this. On the one hand, the J12, you can pick them up for a song. But a lot of these, most of them do not have the caliber 12.1. They have the older one, which is usually some ETA or Solita or something like that. But this version came out just a few years ago. So it's one that, to me, would be like, you really want a fancy but very sort of guy kind of watch. This would be an interesting one. Or another watch Chanel made that was their own, not belonging to some other company, is the Monsieur de Chanel. Okay, now what they had, the movement on that, you can see the circular bridge. You can see on the Monsieur de Chanel, this is in beige gold, which I've never heard of beige gold. I love beige gold. I got one. I got one in white gold because that was the only one that they had available that I could afford. And something went wrong with it. Both myself and Michael Cobb ran into an issue where the thing didn't flip and when it went for another hour to jump, it didn't happen. So I went down to New York and took it into the Chanel store there, and they said, okay, it'll be back in 12 months. It didn't say anything about the charge or anything else. It was about 3 months later, they said, well, it's back and it's all fixed and everything's working fine. I didn't ask. I'll tell you, if somebody doesn't say this is going to cost you so much, don't ask, okay? Cost me nothing, including a FedEx shipment. And unfortunately, it was right around Christmas time, and so FedEx was hiring some people. I had to chase a FedEx truck down the street to get my package because they came around, turned around in our neighbor's driveway, and anyway, that's another story. But this watch is incredible. Romain Gauthier worked with the Chanel watchmakers. The parts that he had were made at the Romain Gauthier atelier. So now, why am I saying this? Because Romain Gauthier watches are so expensive that this one, even though it was 40,000, was a bargain. Mine was a bigger bargain because I got it pre-owned. I could have made a much better deal had it been broken when I got it, but no such luck. Anyhow, incredible watches. Now, this is the reason that I'm bringing this up is that these guys have money, just huge amounts of money, because luxury companies are crazy rich. All right, Chanel, a Chanel dress, a Chanel bag, a Chanel this or that, or anything else they have. Okie doke, moving right along. This next company is called LVMH, which stands for Louis Vuitton Morris Hennessy, I think, but we're just going to call it Louis Vuitton to save time. Now, here's what brought this one to my attention. It's 18,500. It's a Louis Vuitton tambour. Now, the tambour has been around for a long time. I mean, it's not a new model, but some of the stuff inside of it is new. By the way, too, if you want to find some good deals on this watch, you can, go to one of the used online, take a look and see what they cost if you like this kind of watch. Now, what happened was that there's a company called La Fabrique du Temps that became Fabrique du Temps Louis Vuitton. And they're now the in-house watchmaker. So basically what happened was that you have these companies, they want we want to have in-house. They just buy one. They just buy the whole kit and caboodle. Same thing happened with Beauvais, the Beauvais 1822. Pascal Raffi said, well, we got to have in-house movements. So we bought a movement company. Actually bought several, put them together and called them Demiere. So now this watch, to me, this is like 18,500 is not bad for a watch like this. And I know it's stainless steel, but and you can pay a lot more for other ones, but some of my favorite watches are stainless steel, and they do just fine. Okay, so this is another one. The movement is called LFT 023 for her 28,000, certified chronometer by the Geneva Chronometric Observatory. In case you don't know what that is, an observatory. All of the chronometer certifications used to be done that way. What you do is that you look at the stars, and I guess I don't know with whatever you can set the exact location, and then as the planets move over a certain period of time, then you check it again when they're at the same state and look at the watch and see if it's gained or lost any time. And if it's something within some kind of thing that's called the ISO 3159, then it's considered a true chronometer. The funny thing about this, I notice that usually if something is rated chronometer, they put on a chronometer. But even though it's certified, they decided not to. Maybe the designer said, come on, that messes up my design. Who knows? Something like that. So this is a company that if you look at LVMH, you have Bulgari, Tag Heuer, Zenith, Chaumet, and Hublot. And LVMH, when Elon Musk, I guess he bought, when he bought Twitter, he was no longer the richest man in the world. He was the second richest man in the world. The richest man became the guy who was head honcho at LVMH in terms of having dough. Now they cancel them. To me, here's another opportunity. Since Chaumet isn't making men's watches anymore, it might be a good time to find a great deal. They've always been, way better than they sold for. One of the other things too that I think you're going to find in these luxury watch companies is that you have not just watchmakers, but you have really top-notch jewelry makers. And when you see this is a fairly fat case, but doesn't feel like anything. Patent leather. Who has patent leather straps? And this watch, I tell you, the more I have it, the more fun it is. It's not practical. It's not practical. Most of our watches aren't practical anyway. But these are some things to look out for. Okay, we're going to take a look next at Hermes. And Hermes, you're much more familiar with that. Now, some years ago, they bought 25% of in Vaucher, manufactured Vaucher Fleurier. And the man, I tell you, what they can do with that. Now they have sort of a in-house-ish movement, and so they need a new movement. They just go to Vaucher, and most of them I've noticed lately have been pretty much off the shelf, but still they're really top-notch movements. Right now, probably their most popular watch is the H08, 5500 base price. But then they have, if you look at all of the range price-wise, they have quite a range. And on the higher side, this is the Le Temps Suspendu. I believe it won a Grand Prix award. This watch, it's got, again, here, everyone seems to go to Agenor at one time or another. And this one's got the retrograde calendar by Agenor down there right below the, sort of, I guess, between 4 and 7. But the other part of it is this mechanism that suspends time. It's a very romantic concept, too, is that what happens if you want the world to stop, so to speak, you push a little button and the hour hand and the minute hand go to this little segment around 12, like they're set there now. And then when you click it off, it goes zip to the correct time. This watch sells for $20,300. Now you may ask, what would you want to do that for? If you, well, maybe you have an interesting date. I say, well, let's linger a bit longer. Now here's another thing that happened very recently. LVMH bought 17.1% of Hermes, and the stock shot sky high after that happened. I mean, here's a company that's well known for its leather goods. I mean, all of Princess Grace of Monaco has one of their purses that they named after her, called the Kelly bag, after Grace Kelly. And they won like I said, a boatload of Grand Prix awards. So it's another company that it is a luxury company, but boy, it's also a one for really good watches. There's another watch. This is another one for Van Cleef and Arpels that I have. The thing about this one's got a really wonderfully done. It has a very thin dial, and yet it's automatic with a platinum rotor in there, little rotor zipping around. And these watches, I think, if you look where other people aren't looking, and especially right now where you find a gap, you can find some great deals on some really excellent watches. Anyway, this has been a rather long video, so I'm going to see if I can chop a little off. Let me know what you think, and this is an opportunity to subscribe if you like. And until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection.